Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. Today, and I say this a lot, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. So what I wanted to do is show you my orchids during a rainstorm. We're supposed to get between 1.5 and 13 inches of rain today and then over the next 2 days. So things are really wet. And I wanted to share some things with you because you can see some things when it's raining that obviously you can't see when it's not raining. So we're going to take a look at some of that. It's a little bit crazy to do because right now what I'm seeing is water dripping off of my camera, which is not good for the electronics. But I'm going to do things quickly. I might get an umbrella as we move through things today. We'll have to see how it goes. We'll see how hard the raining comes down. Right now it's raining kind of lightly, but it's enough. But it's supposed to rain all day, and it's supposed to get worse. I've heard thunder most of the morning, so there's lightning. Not a good thing to be outside when it's like this, but I wanted to share some things with you that I think are important. The first thing is, and we'll get a close-up of this, I'm going to start out here, and then I'm going to get behind the camera as we move forward. But the first thing to notice is on this Vanda, and this Vanda is just kind of white. You know, this is out here, and this is doing really well. But what you can see on this is the roots are intensely green. So normally it's not like this, but when the rain gets in, when these are watered, the roots green up. And it's not because the green wasn't there before, but because the velamen, the outside surface of the roots becomes saturated with water, and then it lets the light penetrate a little bit more effectively. So what you can see is green roots, and these are photosynthetically active roots, but they've also taken up the water in the space. So the velamen, again, it goes from being a little bit opaque, so these will normally be kind of white. And then it goes from being opaque, and as the water fills in those cells in the velamen, it becomes more transparent. So that's why you see this change in coloration. So we'll look at these in the roots throughout my collection. The other thing, and we'll take a look at it later as we go, but if you're putting orchids in trees, well, you can, and you want rainwater to be the main source of water for these plants, where they're outside the irrigation zone. What you have to do is kind of see where the tree gets wet. So on this palm, it's the outside, this part of the tree is where you have moisture from the rain. So it rains, and then the rainwater drips down the outside of the tree, and that's a good place for the orchid to be in the stream of the rainwater as it comes down the tree. You can kind of tell this area because you've got lichens growing on the tree. So if it's not raining and you can see where the lichens are growing, this is a good spot for mounting lichens, moss, things like that. Those are good spots for putting orchids. On the other, it's been raining so much today, I don't know if we're going to find dry spots on the trees, but it's best, again, it's been raining all day and it's going to keep on doing this, but if there's a small amount of rain, it's a good idea to keep these things mounted in an area that's in what I call the stream, the rain stream that is coming down the side of the tree. All right, so what I want to do now, and we'll take a look at things. There may be some things that I don't know what we're going to see, but we'll take a look at the orchids and we'll learn a little bit about doing this. One of the other things is that you don't see a whole lot of these types of videos, orchids in the rain, but I actually did one of my first video was mounting Encyclia tampensis during a rain shower in one of the local parks. And I'll put a link to that so you can see what that is. But it's the same type of thing that when I mounted the seedlings in the trees, you wanted them to be in the areas, you feel, and you want to say, okay, it's moist here. Not during a thunderstorm, but just during a nice rainstorm, you can go out and see where the water is streaming down the tree. And that really is the best place to put an orchid. Okay, so what we're going to do is get behind the camera and see what we see. Okay, and we are back. So this is the Vanda Salina that I was standing next to. And what I want you to look at is how green the roots are on this tree as it's sitting in the rain. And if you go up here, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the rain streaming down. So this Vanda I mounted right in the rain stream. So it's coming down the tree, and that's where this plant is mounted. And what you can see also is, as you might imagine, is the rain dripping off of the roots and off the orchids, and this is fine, and this is all good. So and as you can also see, the roots go down quite a bit on this tree, and they say green all the way down until the base. I should also say, now that I'm at the base, this is a Certipodium punctatum that I planted. So these guys are, they're epiphytic and they're terrestrial. They're a little both. So the best place that I understand to plant these is at the base, when you have a crotch of a tree, or in this case, at the base of this. This is a palm triplet. So these guys are doing well. These are seedlings. They've been there for maybe about a year. But they seem to be doing pretty well. I've got, as I look around here, here's another Vanda in this tree. And again, you can see the green roots on this, and you can see the rain dripping off. So these guys are loving it. Here's some phals that I have. These are burlap phals that I have above and they're above the Vanda here, and those are doing pretty well also. As far as the other ones, I don't really think there's much activity going on these plants that I have mounted. You can just see, they're getting good moisture. Here is the Tampensis, Encyclia Tampensis, that is still just loaded with flowers. They do get, they get beaten down a little bit when they get beaten down a little bit when it's raining like this, but look how loaded this plant is. It really is just, that's a few flowers on this Encyclia. A lot of these flowers are getting pollinated. That was the subject of a video that I had, and I'm pretty happy with how that Tampensis is doing. Not a whole lot going on with these orchids here. One thing I do want to show you, if I can find it, as I zoom in, it should be, yeah, so there's three, you can't see it really good from this angle, but there's three flowers coming off on this young Kong right here. There's a flower capsule forming right there. I do want to show you this. I'm pretty excited about this. So this is an orchid that I bought a few years ago. It's a Arides, and what you can hopefully see, and it's blooming for the first time since I bought it. I bought it flowering. It hasn't bloomed in 3 years, but again, look at the green root right there. It's on a side of the tree where there's a lot of rainwater coming, and it's dripping off, and it's doing pretty well. You can't tell when you look at these trees, and we'll take a look at some of those in a little bit, but you can't tell that the inside is not as dry, not as wet. Now the roots are growing up on this tree. Maybe you can't see them. The backlight is too much, and I'm getting hit with rain. But they're growing. These roots are growing up. They find the water, and they grow up the tree. They grow down the tree, and these are doing well. There's a Vanda right here again on the outside of this tree, where the rain stream is, and then there's another Vanda right here. As we go through some of the other orchids in my collection, some of the things that you can see, or maybe not very well, there's a seed capsule right there in the middle of the screen. Oh, I'm getting really wet. And there's another, I gotta find it right here. Another seed capsule right there. And as we move along, look at all the seed capsules on this plant. But I'm getting away from the rainy part. Here's some more Vandas on this tree. These I got from as seedlings from RF. It's really pouring now. I don't know whether you can hear the raindrops, but it's really pouring. But the other thing is I'm sitting underneath this palm tree. I'm gonna have to really dry my camera out well. But again, more green roots, and as we move on, the rest of these things are showing the same thing. So you've got, this Vanda right here, and it's, both, I don't know if you can tell, you have, these aerial roots on this Vanda right here, and this is a monster Vanda that has not bloomed for me, even though it's just growing so well. Maybe it needs more light, I don't know. But you can see as you follow the root system up the tree, you can see how green these roots are, and they're just again, they're just filled with water and enjoying the day. Okay, so moving on, I do want to show you as we go here, and there's all I have on this tree is a vanilla orchid, but what you can see is I planted this on this side of the tree because this is where the lichens were, and it does get wet here. But then as you go up the tree, you see right here on the right, it's dry. And so this is, and it's a different type of palm tree. So then this vanilla grew more into the rainy area of the tree. So it disappears behind the tree there, and because this is the dry part of the tree. So they find a way, and they grow in the area that there's going to be more water provided to them. The other thing is that with vanilla, they're terrestrial, so you have this goes down in the in the soil, and there's roots here that absorb a little bit of water, but there's also roots in the soil, so it's a little bit of an interesting story. So moving on to here, I'm not sure what we're going to see here, other than there are some roots, for example, on this pot right here, and on that pot right there. So the roots on the outside of the pot, and they are, again, greening up nicely because it's so wet. When I fertilize and water my plants, I do get to the point where they're green, and I think that's good enough. After they're green and after the water is dripping off, then I'm good with all that. But these are my orchids. This is the reason, because it is so wet and rains here so often, and this is a little exceptional. We're supposed to get as much rain over the next 48 hours that we do in the whole month of June. And because of the amount of rain that we get, this is why the potting mix that I have these either is lava stone and leca, just because it's so wet. And if you put them in a bark mix, it just stays too wet, and that's undesirable. That's not good. So these are, again, the water comes through, it drips out of the pot, there's not that much water retention. I still do lose an occasional plant to rot, but for the most part, this is most of my plants that are in pots, because that's what I like to use. It's just a really fast draining mix because it's so wet here. Okay. All right, so that's all I have. I'm just getting soaked. My camera's getting soaked. I think it's time to call it a day on this video. I hope you enjoyed my video today of looking at my orchids in the rain. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help my videos. It would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.